guys, welcome to Cleaning Up History, where my goal is preserving headstones in cemeteries and telling forgotten stories of the past. Warning, this video may contain adult content and violence. Viewer discretion is advised. So, normally when I do my Cleaning Up History stories or just, my FaceTime stories telling stories that I've come across, the newspaper articles and such, I like to focus on events that have happened prior to the 1940s. And the main reason I do this is because I don't want to tell a story of someone's criminal past who may have living children or grandchildren that aren't aware of these stories. I'm making an exception this time because this is such a big story, and I also had family that was involved with this as well, so I guess I'm somewhat just implicating my family as well. But this is something that was taking place in the late 1940s and early 1950s in Kimball County, and I came across this article and I was in complete disbelief. I was actually searching for something unrelated. That's when I always find these big stories, just when I'm not even looking for them. But with that being said, I know that some of these people involved in this story do have family living, and I'm not in any way trying to embarrass anyone or talk bad about anyone. Decisions were to be made back then. There were children to be fed. People made decisions based on their needs. I'm not defending or, putting down on either way. But with that being said, I'm here today to talk about human trafficking in LaFollette in the 1940s and 50s. I will start out talking about the Sweat family. And I'm not really blaming just this particular family, because this story did take place around 1952. It's hard to research because the 1950 census has not been released to the public yet. We've still, in a few months it'll be released, and maybe I can go back and find out some more details that I can't find right now. But the Sweat family actually lived in Union County, Tennessee. And William Sweat, he was born in 1851, and he and his wife and children lived in Union County, Tennessee. In 1910, in 1900, you go on back, they were in the Union County area. William and his wife had several children. But two of his daughters in particular were involved with this story. One of his daughters' name was Rhoda, and the other's name was Russia, and they were called Rhodey and Rushy. That's what people called them. Rhodey and Rushy both at some point ended up in Kimball County, Tennessee. I think William actually did too. Everyone involved with this story is actually buried in Baker's Forge Cemetery. This is one of the reasons I like to walk through the cemeteries, and I always wonder, what secrets were buried with this person, because people will take these secrets to their grave and never talk about them again. But anyways, Rhodey, I'm not sure if she got married and divorced or if she was widowed or what happened, but at some point her last name was changed to Minton. And her sister Rushy, she married a man by the name of Billingsley, and she had some children, and then she divorced Jose Billingsley. And she later remarried a man by the name of Tom Francisco. Tom was actually the son of a doctor in Claiborne County, Tennessee, and Dr. James Irwin Francisco. And Tom was born in 1880 and passed away in 1957. So these people do definitely have relatives still living that probably may remember their ancestors, their grandpa, their grandma. Actually, their father or mother. So, like I said, I'm not trying to bring any bad attention to your family name at all. That's not what I'm doing here. I just want to share the fact that this was actually happening in LaFollette this recent. So, Rhodey and Rushy both eventually opened establishments along what is now Highway 25W. That, you know, if you go from LaFollette to Jellicoe and take you as Highway 25W, that was actually the only route to travel back then because I-75 hadn't been built yet. So the Dixie Highway was the main traffic route. And so these establishments popped up, hoping people would stop in for a drink and whatnot when they were traveling through. And I think that for the most part, they were pretty successful. I found that you know, they were charged with having whiskey unlawfully a couple of times. These establishments, these particular ones I'm talking about, there's actually more that were involved with the same wrongdoings, and I'll share some newspaper articles, but I'm just focusing on this particular family because I can find information on them. So but they were charged with having whiskey and I think violating taxes on cigarettes. Just small little things like that. But eventually, they were investigated by the FBI. And what the FBI was investigating them for was violation of the Mann Act of 1910. I've done a lot of looking through things because I was so curious about this. And the Mann Act was basically enacted to prevent transporting young girls across state lines for the purposes of prostitution. And they were investigated by the FBI for violating the Mann Act and found guilty, and they had to spend 5 years in federal prison for such. Now, during the time of Rhodey's and Rushy's stay in prison, Rushy's son and her husband, Francisco, were still, I guess, operating this establishment. And they had decided that they were going to take a trip to visit the girls in prison. But an argument broke out over when they should leave to take this visit. And Clayton Billingsley, got so worked up that he picked up a shovel and hit his stepfather in the head with a shovel. And his stepfather, I guess, then locked himself in a room to try to get away from Billingsley. But Billingsley persisted on trying to get in the door, and when he finally opened the door, Francisco just started firing a gun at him, and he killed Billingsley there in this establishment. If you drive up 25 now, you'll see what's left of some of these establishments. I know you may have heard of the Fuzzy Duck. That was one of them. And then there was the Rhoda Minton's place was the next establishment on up. And on up from her, on up towards Jellicoe, was the Francisco place. And basically, all of these roadhouses during this time frame were operating pretty much prostitution rings. The newspaper article stated that the girls, men were charged $7 a night to be with the girls. $2 was given to the girl, and $5 was given to the Roadhouse establishment. And this was going on in the 50s in Campbell County. They were bringing these girls from Middlesboro, Kentucky, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what the significance of getting the girls out of Middlesboro were, but almost every establishment that I found that got in trouble for this purpose, the girls that they were using, they were getting out of Middlesboro, Kentucky. And I did find in the 1940 census that there was a girl by the name of Sadie Gibson, who was living with one of the sisters, and her occupation was listed as helper. And then it goes on to elaborate that she was a cook at the Roadhouse, and she was in her 20s. She was actually the same age as Clayton Billingsley, so I was thinking that may have been Clayton's, girlfriend or fiance or whatever, but they lived in the household together. Maybe when the 1950 census is released, I'll get more information on some of the girls that may have been living there with these two sisters. They didn't live together. They lived in separate households, but they were just, a few miles apart from one another. And that's the story that I have today on human trafficking in the 50s in Campbell County, Tennessee. Yes, it was a big thing. It happened multiple times with many different girls, teenage girls from the Middlesboro, Kentucky area. And I was a little shocked at this information, so I'm not sure how you guys will feel about it. And like I said, if any of these people are your family members, I apologize. I'm going to put up articles of not only this particular family, but other establishments in that same vicinity who was also charged with the same crimes. And that's all I've got for today. So thank you guys for watching. As always, if you like the content of my channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. And if you hit the little bell button, you'll be notified anytime I upload new videos. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.